Good evening and welcome to the May 19th meeting of the Menlo Park Planning Commission. I am Chair Andrew Eric and I thank you for joining us this evening, either remotely or here in council chambers. Established by state law, our city's Planning Commission is composed of 7 volunteer residents of Menlo Park appointed to 4-year terms by the City Council. Our Planning Commission is not a policy setting body, that's the City Council. We are a policy implementing body. We review development proposals for compliance with our city's general plan and zoning ordinances, which can both be found on the city's website. The Commission also reviews city-initiated land use planning projects, such as general plan updates and zoning ordinance amendments. The Commission reviews development proposals requiring a use permit, architectural control, a variance, minor subdivision, as well as the environmental reviews associated with these projects. When applicable, the Planning Commission reviews below market rate or BMR housing agreements associated with these applications. The Commission is the final decision-making body for these applications unless appealed to the City Council. The Commission also serves as the recommending body to the City Council for major subdivisions, rezoning, conditional development permits, zoning ordinance amendments, general plan amendments, and environmental reviews associated with those projects. If applicable, the Commission reviews and makes recommendations on BMR agreements associated with these projects. We work closely with the staff in our city's planning division, which is responsible for implementation of the general plan, zoning ordinances, and related policies. We encourage your active participation, whether you are an applicant or interested member of the public, and there will be an opportunity to speak publicly for each specific agenda item, as well as for general public comment. With that, I will move to section B of our agenda and call the roll. Commissioner Schindler.
Present.
Commissioner Sillen.
Here.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Present.
And I am present. I am Chair Eric and I am present. We have 4 commissioners in in chambers. 3 commissioners are absent. That is a quorum. The next item on our agenda is reports and announcements. Ms. Sandmeyer, are there any staff reports or announcements this evening?
Yes, good evening, Chair Eric and commissioners. So I have a couple of announcements. Next Tuesday, the City Council will hold a study session on the development agreement terms for the Parkline Master Plan project. I also have an update on the Springline project that had its annual review of its development agreement on April 28th. So this is follow-up information in response to commissioner questions. Springline indicates that 3 of their 20 BMR units have seen turnover since they've been occupied. There are no remaining households on the BMR waiting list, and they will revert to a lottery to fill the next vacancy. They also indicated there's an interest list for their market rate units, but no official waiting list. And that concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sandmeyer. Do any commissioners have any questions about these announcements?
Just a tactical question. Would the update that you just provided, which is a follow-up from the applicant, be reflected in meeting notes, in typed up meeting notes the next time that we see it?
Yes, it'll be in the minutes.
Okay, perfect. Then that's just confirmation that it'll be recorded somewhere and discoverable. Thank you.
Do commissioners have any additional reports or announcements? Okay, seeing none, we will move to item D in our agenda, the public comment portion. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name, district, or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore, the commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Please know that if you are here tonight to comment on one of our agenda items, you will have a chance to speak when we get to that item in the agenda. So to learn how to participate in public comment, I'm going to turn to our clerk this evening, Mr. Pruder, to explain how you can participate and then to begin our public comment period.
Thank you, Chair Eric and Vice Chair Silverstein, Planning Commissioners, members of the public, Matt Pruder, Associate Planner with the Planning Division. Regarding public comment, any members of the public in person today can provide me with a comment card for this general public comment or for any agendized items that are on tonight's agenda. When you prefer, you can provide the comment card to me at the clerk desk over here, and you'll be able to speak in person. For those that are joining us virtually this evening, you can press the hand icon for the Zoom interface in order to request the opportunity to speak. And then anyone who is calling by a phone, please press *9 on your keypad, and that will similarly indicate your desire to speak. At the moment, I do not have any comment cards in the council chambers for this item, and I also do not see any hands raised. We can wait a moment longer if you'd prefer. Thank you.
Sure, let's wait a moment. I will just note for the record that Commissioner Baruzzi has arrived. She arrived at 7:11 p.m. Okay, Mr. Pruder, do we have any public comments at this time?
I can still confirm that we have no requests for public comment. Thank you.
Okay, I will now close the public comment portion of our agenda and move to item E, the consent calendar. Tonight, there are 2 items on the consent calendar: approval of the minutes from the April 28th, 25 Planning Commission meeting, as well as approval of minutes from the May 5th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. I believe that we had a request from a commissioner to potentially pull one of these items.
I had raised a question about some of the meeting minutes from the April 28th meeting, specifically looking to have the meeting reflect that there were open questions that were asked of the applicant representing Springline with regard to the statistics that Ms. Sandmeyer just updated us on. Can those be added without it being pulled from the consent calendar?
Through the chair, I think we would need the specific language that you would like added.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, what we will do is take a vote on the consent calendar, not including item E1, which will be pulled, and then we will proceed to item E1. Do any commissioners wish to pull any additional items from the consent calendar? No. Okay, so in that case, I would like to open public comment on the consent calendar. Mr. Pruder, could you please provide instructions regarding the public comment? Sorry, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment on this agenda item and open a public comment period for the consent calendar?
Yes, thank you, Chair Eric. At this time, we have public comment for items E1, E2. And again, anyone in person can provide me with a comment card requesting to speak on this item, either of the items. And then also those who are on Zoom can press the hand icon, and those who are calling can press *9 to request for public comment. At the moment, I don't see any hands raised or comment cards on this current set of items, but we can wait a little longer if you'd like. Thank you.
Okay, assuming there are still no comments, I would like to ask if there's a motion to approve the consent calendar excluding item E1.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion from Commissioner Schindler,
Second.
a second from Commissioner Sillen. Seeing no other discussion, I will call the vote. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Aye.
Vice Chair Silverstein,
Yes.
and I am a yes. That is 5 yes votes with 2 absent. The motion passes. I will now, I don't believe we have to redo public comment because public comment was called for both items E1 and E2. So I'm going to keep going and ask if there is any discussion on item E1. Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like the minutes to reflect Two specific questions that I asked of Mr. Sananaji about Springline, specifically asked about Springline BMR unit turnover. There are 20 units, and I asked how many of the units, if any, had turned over during the prior year since our last update, which was a question that he couldn't answer at the time and said he would get back to us. And I also asked about the approximate magnitude of the wait list for BMR units. These were questions that were also asked during the other annual update for Middle Plaza. Those questions were asked and answered and reflected in the notes for that component of the agenda. So if we could please just make sure those questions were logged and it was noted that there was follow-up. And then I appreciate getting the update and the reports this evening. I think that makes it more transparent in the public arena. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. I'll ask staff, do you feel that you have sufficient information at this time to update the minutes accordingly?
Yes, we have what we need. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve E1?
Motion to approve E1 with the suggested 2 additional questions noted.
First from Commissioner Schindler and a second from Commissioner Baruzzi. Do any commissioners wish to provide any other discussion? Okay, I will call the vote. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Aye.
Commissioner Schindler.
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
I'll abstain because I wasn't present for that meeting.
Okay, I am a yes. We have 4 yes votes with 1 abstain and 2 absent. That motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, we will now move on to item F of our meeting, the public hearing. The first item in this section is item F1. This agenda item is regarding the use permit for 519 Central Avenue. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to demolish an existing single-story, single-family residence to construct a new 2-story single-family residence on a substandard lot with regard to minimum lot width and area in the R1U single-family urban zoning district at 519 Central Avenue, and determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA guidelines, section 1503's class 3 exemption for new construction or conversion of small structures. The proposal includes an attached accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, which is a permitted use and not subject to discretionary review. This project also includes removal of a street tree, which was reviewed and conditionally approved by the city arborist. Ms. Khan, I believe, is the project planner for this item, and I believe we have some presenters who are here in person with us. Ms. Khan.
Good evening, Chair Eric, and members of the Planning Commission and members of the Menlo Park citizens. Sorry, I'm lost of words tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, we do have the applicant team present with us in person at the City Council chambers. We do have the architect representative online with us. We do have a virtual presentation from the applicant team. With that, staff does not have any additional comments to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. If there are no staff updates to the staff report, I will now welcome our applicant to present and provide their comments. We can't hear you quite yet.
How about now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. My name is Hannah Chu. I work with Thomas James Homes, applicant for the project at 519 Central. As mentioned, I also have our Director of Forward Planning, Alicia Wilson, here with me, and virtually Eric Tigno, our project architect representing Bassinian Lagoni Architects. Here to answer any questions that may come up. And so, yes, just have a brief presentation. I'll just hop right in. Get next slide. Thank you. On this slide here, you can see that I've provided an overview of the site plan. I know it's a little small, I've highlighted and called out some design elements that I will be reviewing tonight. The proposed parking spaces are highlighted in orange, proposed fence outlined in blue, existing retaining wall in the front yard is going to be called out in green and yellow. There's a street tree proposed to be removed in red and a replacement tree in green. I know this is small, so I've sectioned the site plan into 2 views, front and rear, so it's going to be easier to see in the upcoming slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so here is a close-up of the front yard. Our uncovered front parking space is accessed off of Central, and it's highlighted, well, it doesn't look really orange right now, but it is highlighted maybe in a limey green color. The existing Accolade Elm street tree that is proposed for removal due to our driveway improvements is highlighted in red, and our proposed replacement flame tree is highlighted in green, and that is to the right of the proposed driveway. The existing retaining wall to remain is also highlighted in 2 colors. The portion in yellow is 4 feet in height, and the remainder just in the back is highlighted in green, and that's going to be 6 feet in height. And as mentioned, the blue line just shows the proposed fence. The next slide, please. So in this slide here, we're going to talk a little bit about that existing landscape wall to be retained. And so I've provided a snip of our topo map to the left of the screen, highlighting the landscape wall in red. Half of the wall is in the front yard of our neighbor of 517 Central, and then it continues on and encroaches slightly into our front yard at 519 Central. And then the green line is the existing fence that divides the 2 properties that also slightly encroaches onto 519 Central's property. So we proposed the new fence to rectify this encroachment. And then to the right is an aerial view of the wall highlighted in the same fashion. Red and then green is the existing fence continued on. And then so as mentioned, we are proposing to retain this landscape wall. During the project, there was some back and forth on the retainment of this wall. We originally had plans to remove this wall. We hosted a neighbor meeting in November 2024, and the neighbors had expressed interest in retaining the wall. So I took the comments from the meeting. We went back to our team to discuss the potential to retain the wall. Due to other comments that were voiced during this meeting, we ended up shifting the front uncovered parking space to be further away from the side property line. We adjusted some landscape vegetation, and we decided to keep the landscape wall. And then as the project continued, our planner then notified us that if we were to keep the wall, we would need to provide plans during building permit review, and the wall would be reviewed in context to current code requirements. And so since we didn't account originally for keeping the wall in our original scope, after this conversation with the planner, we felt that we would not be able to provide plans, and we were not prepared to address any plan check comments should they arise during the building permit process. And so we notified the neighbors of the situation and the reasons as to why we can no longer keep the wall. But then the neighbors, they reached back out to our project planner, and they provided a snip of a 1994 building permit for the wall. And so the project planner then verified through permit research that the wall was in fact permitted. And she notified us that as long as the wall was not above 4 feet in height within the front 20-foot setback, we'd be able to keep the wall without having to provide plans or be subject to plan check comments during our building permit review. And so we confirmed in the field that the wall does not exceed the 4 feet in height in the front 20-foot setback. And so under these conditions, we have ultimately decided to keep the landscape wall. So that's background on the landscape wall. Next slide, please. All right, so moving on to the rear view of the close-up of the site plan. So once again, the proposed fence is highlighted in blue, and the 2 parking spaces that will be accessed off the rear alley are highlighted in orange, except one looks a little lime green. here, but they are highlighted in orange. And then you will see that there's also a gate that opens up to the uncovered parking space. It opens up towards the rear alley. Next slide, please. And so moving on to our landscape plan, as mentioned, we are removing an Accolade elm street tree due to our driveway improvements, and we will be replacing with a flame tree that will be located to the right of the proposed driveway. We proposed our driveway to be accessed off the left side of the property, as the right side contains our depressed landscape area to meet drainage requirements, as that area of the site naturally has a lower elevation. And I just want to provide location reference of the street tree that we are removing. In the lower left of the screen, there is a Google Street Image snip. The very first tree that's called out is a neighbor street tree that's predominantly in front of 517 Central. And then to the right is the Accolade elm that we are proposed to remove. And that straddles between 517 and 519 Central. And then to the right is an existing magnolia tree that's straddling 519 and 521 Central. And then I've also provided pictures of the magnolia, the existing magnolia that will remain. That's at the top. And then below is a picture of the elm tree that we're proposing to remove. We're proposing a total of 14 new trees. This includes the replacement flame tree. And I've highlighted all those proposed trees in dark green on that site plan to the right of the slide. And then the existing magnolia is in light green, the bottom right of the slide. And then the Accolade elm is outlined in red. So next slide, please. And so our last slide just shows our proposed colors and materials board with renderings of the home. I just wanted to make note, I believe that the plans that were in the published staff report that I'd submitted to FATTeen was not our most updated colors and materials board with the updated rendering. The updated rendering just shows the elevated porch in the front handrails leading up. So I just wanted to make note of that. But that concludes my presentation, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chu. Before we move to public comment on this item, do any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or for the applicant? Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you. Through the chair, I have a couple of just background questions for staff, specifically with regard to the alley that runs behind this property and other properties on the block. This is the first time that I can recall seeing a property with, or set of properties with that function. So I was wondering if I could just ask a couple quick clarifying questions. What is the ownership structure? Like, who owns that alley is my first question. My second question is, could you expand on what a maintenance agreement exactly means? And my specific question is, who is a party to a maintenance agreement as it is referred to in the staff report? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Schindler. The alley is not owned by the city or any of the property owners that abut the alley, which is why there's a maintenance agreement between the property owner or a property owner and the city. And this comes up when a property owner designs their required parking to be accessed solely from the alley. This is when we require the maintenance agreement. They begin the alley maintenance agreement, and anyone afterwards who provide parking, the required parking through the alley, get added on to the maintenance agreement. For instance, we have 505 Central at the very left-hand side of this block who has an alley maintenance agreement. 519 Central could have opted to include themselves in that maintenance agreement. However, they chose to start from the other side of the alley, which is why we have a separate maintenance agreement between 519 Central and the city. This is a choice that was made by the applicant. In the future, should anyone want to access the alley, they can either opt in to the maintenance agreement that 519 Central has begun or the one that 505 Central has begun, just depending on where they're positioned in the alley.
Thank you. So just to be sure that I've understood, the alley is owned by the city.
It is not owned by the city.
Who, and you said it is not owned by the city and it is not owned by the property owners. Who is the owner of that land?
Yeah, so through the chair, so when the subdivision was created, the alleys were meant to be dedicated to the county, but the county did not accept the dedication. So I would suppose they're in a little bit of limbo. They're not privately or publicly owned, but they are in use for those parcels.
Okay. Thank you. That is extremely curious. So given that the maintenance agreement appears to be between homeowners who choose to use that alley for access and the city, it appears that the city is acting as the representative, like sort of the caretaker in a legally ambiguous situation. Is that the case? Like, if the maintenance agreement were to need to be enforced, who would be the parties in that discussion? I'm assuming the city and the landowners, or excuse me, and the homeowners who abut it and use it for driving and parking.
That is correct, since the agreement is between the city and the property owners.
Okay. And I believe that the staff report also makes reference to the fact that 517 and 511 also park accessible through the alley. Is that correct? Are my notes correct?
I don't think I referred that in the staff report. That may have been in the project description letter, if I'm not mistaken.
That's possible.
Yes, I did a site visit. I did note a couple of properties that utilize the alley. However, 517 might have constructed their garage prior to the city requiring a maintenance agreement. I'm not sure when that was constructed.
Okay, so it sounds like, again, just to be clear, the maintenance, there is not a maintenance agreement between the city and the owners of 517, or between the city and the owners of 511.
That is correct. The agreement right now that the city has is for 222 Elm and 505 Central, and the third one being 519 Central.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all of my clarifying questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Schindler. I have a follow-up question. If I could ask staff to briefly summarize the intent of the maintenance agreement. And my understanding is that it is an agreement that, for instance, the owners of 519 Central will maintain the alleyway. Is that generally correct?
That is correct. Since they're utilizing the alley solely for their required parking purposes, it will be utilized more frequently. We require that they improve the alley so that it's more accessible and that it's maintained at a standard that the engineering division reviews and approves.
Okay, and I would assume that that maintenance requirement extends in perpetuity, or it has no end date.
That is correct.
Thank you. Do any other commissioners have clarifying questions? Commissioner Silverstein. Sorry, Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yeah, just as a follow-up on the same topic, and this is partially curiosity-driven, but also pertains to some of the dynamics here. When it comes to conflict resolution regarding an unowned alley, if there is a car that is blocking their, owned by someone who does not have any form of maintenance agreement with the city, is there a precedent in terms of conflict resolution for who would, in theory, have access to that. And I guess like a follow-up question here is, would 519 Central, as a function of being the sole party in this circumstance to have that maintenance agreement, have some form of priority access to that alley above any other either resident of who accesses that or any member of the public who wants to use that for their afternoon runs?
I'll start off answering and then I'll defer the rest to Ms. Sandmeyer. So if there is a car that's blocking the alleyway access, any property owners that abut the alley are welcome to call the code enforcement division and have someone go out and provide a citation if needed.
Okay, yeah, through the chair, I can add to that. I don't think there's a priority. It's the building code requires has certain requirements for off-street parking. For example, that it's accessible by an all-weather surface driveway. So that is why the alley maintenance agreement is required, since it would improve the alley and maintain it to be an all-weather surface.
Okay. I have one last clarifying question, which I think I know the answer to, but I will ask anyway. Can space in this particular alleyway count towards the city's uncovered parking requirement?
I'm not sure I quite followed the question. If you don't mind repeating it again.
In the plans that are before us, there are no uncovered parking spaces marked in the alleyway, but if the applicant tonight had submitted plans and noted an uncovered parking space in alley D, would the city have counted that as an uncovered parking space towards the zoning requirement?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do any commissioners have additional clarifying questions? I see none, and so we will move to public comment on this item. Mr. Pruder, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period?
Sure thing, and thank you, Chair Eric. At this time, we have public comment possible for item F1. I have received 2 comment cards in person, but anyone else in the council chambers who is interested in publicly speaking, please provide me with a comment card. And we have no one online at the moment, but just as a reminder, if you are on Zoom and you'd like to publicly comment, please press the hand icon. And if you're joining us by phone, please press *9, and we'll make sure that you speak as well. I do have one hand raised now virtually, so I'll begin with the in-person comments, if that's all right.
Please go ahead.
Great, thank you. Our first commenter is a person by the name of Stephanie Zeller. You may proceed to the podium. Just give me one moment to set up the timer and the audio, and then I will get things underway here. Okay, and you have 3 minutes when you begin, and you can start now. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, I'm
Yes.
Stephanie Zeller. I live on Central Avenue. I live at 518 Central. The use permit is for 519 Central. I sent an email, sort of a comprehensive overview of my remaining issues. I'm assuming the Planning Commission has access to the email and perhaps has read it before tonight. I don't want to go over something you've read. So knowing that you've read it, I'm going to just highlight points because I don't want to belabor any particular issue. I'd like to talk about 2 of the issues I covered in my email. One is the issue about the street trees, and the other is the issue about the alleys. I'm going to start with the street tree issue because it's simpler. The issues I have are the removal of what's called tree number 6, or the elm tree that's at the corner of 517 and 519. At some point in the planning process, there was a parking space very close to the property line, and it's moved now. I'm not really sure if it's moved 1.5 feet or 2.5 feet, but it's moved significantly away from the property line. This is the one parking space that's allocated to be accessed directly from Central Avenue. It looks to me as if it might have happened that the street tree needed to be removed when the parking space was more abutted against the property line. Now that it's moved over significantly, I'm hoping that the street tree can be maintained. It's growing very well. And I personally, being somebody who's going to be looking at it, because I'm directly across the street, would prefer that it's maintained. So if that could be reviewed, if it was originally approved to be removed because of the parking space adjacency, and that has changed. Also, regarding the flame tree being placed in the center, this is the new tree proposed by Thomas James, being placed in the center of the parking strip. Looks like it's getting very close to a very, very healthy magnolia tree. There aren't many healthy magnolia trees left, and this one is very beautiful, very healthy, and I'm hoping that the arborist, if he or she hasn't opined on the health of the roots and the canopy of that magnolia tree due to the proposed placement of the flame tree, I would feel more comfortable if that was sort of a guaranteed, it won't hurt this magnolia tree, which is doing very, very well. So if I do have time, I don't see the timer. Thank you. Oh, 30 seconds? Scheisse. Okay, so on to the alley. The alleys are ongoing issues in our neighborhood. I've never heard of code enforcement enforcing any activity in the alley. My understanding is the city refuses to have anything to do with the alley because they say they do not own the alley. So I don't think that is correct. The alleys are consistently misused, and I think that the Planning Commission should enforce the 2 parking space requirement to be a street access parking requirement. And I am done. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, moving on to the next public commenter in person here at Council Chambers. We have someone by the name of, I apologize, Wing Hung. Is that right? You may begin. We've got the timer and everything ready. So when you're ready to begin, we can start and you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm one owner next door, 517. And my issue is with the fence and also the wall. We're happy they're keeping the wall. But the thing is, all the drawings, they are using a surveyor, but there's no markers saying where the property line really is. So there's no way for us to find out our wall is really protruding into their property or not, or the fence. So we're hoping somebody from TJ Home will come out and stick that. That's my only issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, at this time, we have 2 other commenters virtually with their hands raised, so I can begin that process. Our first virtual participant who would like to speak has the name of Thomas Lento. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself at this time, and similarly, you will have 3 minutes once you begin speaking. Thank you.
Hi, I hope you can hear me. I am one of the owners of the property next door at 521. And one of my concerns is actually with the 2nd-story window placements. We discussed this a bit at the neighborhood meeting, but our bedroom windows look out onto that side of our home. And sitting on my son's bed, for example, and looking out of his bedroom window, there's a broad visible angle to where that 2nd story would be located, where some of the windows are placed. And so I don't know what kind of privacy analysis was done here, or if there is such a thing, but if there's some way to kind of account for these window placements and make sure that the angle of view is as narrow as possible into these other locations, so that whatever window treatments we have or whatever could cover the remaining space, that would be great. The second question that I have is actually maybe more of a clarifying question around the daylight plane. Our home is close to the property line. It's not clear to me where the property line is exactly physically, so we may actually still be a 5-foot setback, but because the home is so old, I believe it was built a little closer to the property line than usual, and I don't know if the daylight plane rules have to take that into consideration, or if that was, and if so, whether or not that was done here. It's just not clear to me on the plans, and so that's something that I just want to double check on, so that we're getting kind of the daylight allowances that we'd expect. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, thank you for that comment. And we have one more hand raised at this time. It is a person who has used phone, and their phone number ends in the digits 2596. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself as well at this time, and you'll have 3 minutes. And if you're comfortable, you're welcome to provide your name as well, but it is not required. Thank you.
If the public commenter is trying to speak, we cannot hear.
Hello?
Oh, yep,
Hi,
we can
can
hear
you
you
hear
now.
me
I'm sorry,
now?
Mr. Pruder, before we get started, would you be able to turn up the volume in council chambers? It's a little bit hard to hear.
Yes, I can try that at this time.
Thank you.
And we are not starting the clock yet. Commenter, if you don't mind just quickly testing, maybe we can just try now.
How is the volume now?
A little better. Maybe try once more, please.
I will speak louder.
I think
That's
this is
great. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and the whole public hearing. And I am one of the neighbors right next to the property. And I would like to speak in support of the point that Ms. Zeller raised about tree number 6, that the magnolia tree in question, it's huge, beautiful, and everything. I'm glad that TJ Homes is planning for a replacement tree to be brought in lieu of tree number 6. However, being the replacement tree planned location, the magnolia tree that is on our in front of our property, it is huge, and the canopy overlaps with the replacement tree placement. Now, we also have a small child, and the any damage to the magnolia tree root system, which I understand most trees, their root system goes as far or wider than their canopy, would create a potential risk of the magnolia tree health deteriorating, maybe the branches dropping, the tree itself coming down would be disastrous for the houses around, but there's a potential for harming the magnolia tree with the new tree placement. So I would strongly like it to be reconsidered. The tree number 6 is healthy looking, and I'm wondering, like, what was the particular need to have a healthy tree taken out and new tree brought in, which would be extra expense as well, and then risk the right side, the healthy magnolia tree. So that's what I would like to add to the tree number 6 reconsideration.
Thank you for your comment. Mr. Pruder, do we have any additional public comments at this time?
Thank you, Chair Eric. At this time, I do not see any other hands raised or comment cards. So if you'd like, we could wait a little longer or close the public comment period. Thank you.
I think we've had enough time, so I'm happy to close public comment on F1 and move back to the dais for commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit. Would any commissioners like to begin the discussion? Commissioner Bruzzi.
Through the chair, I have a question for staff. I wanted to follow up on the question about the daylight plane that Mr. Lento brought up. And I did look at an aerial view, and it did sort of look to my untrained eye as though that house might not necessarily be a full 5 feet from the property line. I don't know, but regardless, could you answer the question about whether or not the daylight plane needs to account for, I think what I understood the question to be was, is one only entitled to the daylight plane that one would get if one had the appropriate setback? Or is one entitled to the daylight plane if one is built right up to the edge? Is that understanding correct? Okay.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Beruzzi. With regards to the daylight plane is taken at the required setback line for all properties. There are instances where existing homes may be closer to the setback line and may have an encroachment in their daylight plane. How we review new proposals is that we rely heavily on the survey, and the surveyors go out there in field and provide their expertise and knowledge with regards to where the existing property lines lie, where the existing structures lie. And then we also rely on the plans that are provided by the applicant team, where they show the setback line. So based on the drawings that we have from TJ Homes, they are meeting the daylight plane requirement as mentioned in our zoning ordinance.
Can I ask a quick follow-up? You mentioned surveyors, and that was something that the second public commenter had expressed some doubt about, whether or not the surveyors had properly assessed where the fence line was. And could you just, for the Planning Commission, clarify your understanding about that?
Yeah, I'll try my best on that. Surveyors have the expertise that we do not have to go out on field, and they usually utilize monument markers, and they rely on that to verify how far away a property line should begin from, and they dimension accordingly. Based on the survey results, we see the topographic and boundary plans that, or surveys that we see on a plan set. And as for the second commenter's comment about markers or stakes being placed on the property, I believe TJ Homes had already relayed that they would do so prior to construction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Beruzzi. Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. Yeah, through the chair, I have a follow-up comment on the survey question. In the case that there is, I believe even, two surveyors may disagree on, two independent surveyors may disagree on where something is. So if there's a concern that the surveyor that Thomas James used was incorrect, is that handled, is there like a dispute process through the city, or like what recourse would someone have if they felt like the survey was wrong?
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Sillen. That would eventually become a civil matter. So if the next door property would like to have a surveyor go out and do a survey, the surveyors, if they have some discrepancy, that can be disputed out between them and resolved in a civil manner. The city does not get involved.
Okay, thanks. And is it safe to say that, like, what assurances does the city get that the surveyor is legitimate? Like, you require, I assume, some sort of license or certification, and do you like verify the monuments that they use for the survey?
That is correct. So we do look at their license. They have to stamp the survey, they have to sign the survey, and then we also have them place a note that says that they have done an in-field verification.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sillen. I have a question, which I'll take this moment. For the applicant, I'm interested in any response you might wish to give to, I believe it was Ms. Zeller's comment about the potential for tree number 6 to stay, and whether or not that tree had been chosen for removal based on a prior design. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, so in response to the process of removing tree number 6, we worked with the city arborist and we obtained proper tree removal permit. Actually, our original proposal to the city arborist was actually to the street tree is quite young. It looks like it may have been planted just a few years ago. And actually, in past projects, there has been one other time where we worked with the city on carefully digging up that tree since it was such a young baby tree and relocated it. And so that was actually our first proposal to the arborist, was potentially just relocating that tree. And Jillian Keller, she had let us know that that was not going to be an option for this project, and that if we remove this tree, we would have to do a replacement. And so the reason also why we are choosing to remove this tree is because although the canopy is small, it's going to be disrupted when we do work in the right-of-way for that driveway improvement. And I also, when she mentioned that we would have to replace the tree and that it would be located near the magnolia, I also did raise concerns about a new tree thriving in such proximity to the magnolia, but she had mentioned that we should just choose a tree with a small root system, which is how we came to choose the flame tree. Our landscape architect suggested the flame tree, and so Jillian approved that tree type as the replacement, and that's kind of how we came to where we're at.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Sillen.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if this is a question or I'll just talk aloud about the alley situation. I used to live on Los Angeles, where alleys are very commonly used for parking access, which generally I actually think is not a bad thing, because less traffic on the main streets, and cars are kind of out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, it sounds like, from what I understand of the letter and the public comment, the concern is that because these alleys are sort of a no man's land, as described, people often park in the alleys. So if this home is going to rely on parking access through the alley, and let's say Thomas James sells his home, someone buys it, and then it turns out, oh, I can't actually get to my driveway because someone's parked in the alley, and I don't have a way to move that car, so I'll just park on the street and or in front of the house. It sounds like that's the concern. So I guess, yeah, besides calling code enforcement for a citation, and I also noticed there's like a utility pole there, and so I'm assuming sometimes like utility companies have to access it. So yeah, maybe this is a question for staff, if there's any other recourse for homeowners if there's just some random car parked in that alley, or an abandoned car, or whatever.
Yeah, through the chair, yeah, we can answer that, and we may need to look into a little more whether it's more of a civil issue or a code enforcement issue, but we can look into that. And certainly that parking, it's required parking, so it would have to be accessible.
Yeah, it does seem a little concerning if homeowners have no way to get the alley unblocked. I guess another part of living in Los Angeles is the very aggressive towing that they do. So that's not as much of an issue over there. But yeah, it seems like if there's a maintenance agreement required, and if, in this case, the developer is going to pay to repave the alley, then there should be some confidence that the alley could be accessible, if not at all times, but at most times. And if it's not, then there's like a pretty quick recourse available. So yeah, that's my viewpoint on that, but I will leave it there.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yeah, on the alley point specifically, while I think it might be an issue around potential access or potential conflicts among neighbors, I don't see the alley being an issue as a function of this permit. If it so happens that the eventual homeowner is unable to access their garage because the alley is blocked, they're still not allowed to park overnight on the street. If they're doing so, there are other recourses there. If they need to get the alley unblocked, there are other recourses there. And I don't think it is our position on the commission to attempt to pre-adjudicate on any of those conflicts, and those things may or may not arise. I'm looking at the street view right now of the alley, and it looks entirely unblocked. I don't know how common that may or may not be. This is, an N of 1. So as per the alley specifically, I think that it's all within code, and if they're happy to take on the maintenance agreement with the city and maintain it to make sure that it is accessible for the parking that they choose to use there, then that's totally fine. And if the owner wants to have their primary vehicle be in the front carport that's uncovered and have that be the primary way they access driving, then that's totally fine as well. To follow up on the tree question in terms of the new flame tree, I've been looking back and forth on the agenda packet, and can either the applicant or staff confirm that the city arborist officially did not have any concerns with the health of the magnolia tree with the placement of the new flame tree, and that both, I guess, the health of both of those systems were officially considered?
Through the chair, if I may answer. Yes, Commissioner Silverstein, as Hannah noted from the TJ Homes applicant team, she had spoken to Jillian Keller. I separately as well have spoken to Jillian with regards to the removal of tree number 6 and the new replacement. She said she reviewed both and she was confident in what was approved.
Thanks. So as a follow-up on that, I don't, as not being an arborist myself, don't feel properly equipped to say one way or another whether or not that would functionally hurt the magnolia tree. I think that it is very important that we consider these things. I know that tree health is not only a concern in terms of the broader ecosystem and beauty of living in Menlo Park, but also safety. That being said, I don't feel one way or another whether or not I can override the city arborist by saying that the magnolia tree would not be negatively impacted by the movement, and don't necessarily want to set a precedent of overriding those conclusions.
Thank you, Vice Chair Silverstein. I guess I have a follow-up question on that for staff. If, as a commission, we wanted to provide optionality to the applicant to look at different tree arrangements, keep the elm tree and not put in the flame tree, could we make a motion that does not require that, but makes it optional such that the applicant would not have to come back to Planning Commission if an alternate configuration of trees was deemed okay by the city arborist?
Yes, so since they are street trees, yes, they can consider a reconfiguration of arrangements. If that is what the commission wants, then I believe you would have to specify that as you make a motion to approve the project, that you would allow flexibility for the applicant team to consider a different location within the city's right-of-way for either retaining the flame tree, or if the flame tree needs to be removed, then an appropriate replacement tree somewhere along the city's right-of-way.
And through the chair, I think that would probably be best addressed by adding a condition, just providing flexibility, and if the applicant would like to make a change to ensure that they obtain approval through the city arborist.
Thank you. I'm assuming, sorry, Vice Chair Silverstein.
A follow-up, I think this is a question to the chair on what you were thinking in terms of that condition. Would that potentially include the prospect of not replanting a second tree at all, street side, if it was deemed that, yes, the original elm tree had to be removed as a function of the construction, and no, they did not want to potentially encroach whatsoever upon the root system of the magnolia tree? Or would that flexibility require some form of replacement?
I would say I personally am comfortable with a configuration that removed the elm tree with no replacement. I would be curious for staff's guidance on whether or not that is something the commission can recommend, given that I believe when you take out a tree, you have to replant one per city law.
So I believe the commission can provide flexibility to the applicant team. We would have to rely on the city arborist to verify whether a replacement tree is required or not. There have been instances when a replacement tree in the city's right-of-way has been waived given the narrow frontage or implications to other trees, but we would have to go back to the city arborist, or the applicant team has to go back to the city arborist to verify. So providing some sort of flexibility within the condition would allow the applicant to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. I'm not seeing any other comments. I'm curious at this point if any commissioner is, Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. I want to recognize and just share appreciation for the applicant team being here tonight, as well as the neighbors being here to sort of, and the ongoing engagement that's documented in the staff report and the back and forth with the email and the applicant. There's clearly been communication and respectful communication and details going back and forth. So kudos to everybody. Thank you very much. We love seeing that when we see these projects come in front of us. I think that to my non-expert eyes, this project represents a tremendous visual enhancement to the neighborhood, both in terms of the house itself as well as the addition of all of the trees. So I think that's a win for the community. I appreciate the compromise that is represented in keeping the landscaping wall. I think that's, again, a win on both sides and for the community to keep that. Since the project adheres to all of the city's requirements as it relates to parking and setbacks, and notwithstanding the potential condition we're going to put in here, tree replacement, I feel like it wins support from me on all of those areas as well too. I wouldn't have any trouble supporting the additional condition of, I'm trying to check my notes here, giving the applicant the ability to change the tree type or the tree location, or potentially even the need for the tree at all, subject to final approval by the city arborist, if that were the spirit of the condition. Okay.
Are you making a motion?
I was about to, but I'm happy to. I'm happy to make that a motion, provided that I have the spirit of the condition accurately captured.
Yes.
Okay. So move to approve the use permit with the condition that, as I just mentioned, and I can repeat that if it's helpful. So the condition was with the additional condition of giving the applicant the ability to change the tree type, the tree location, or potentially even the need to have the replacement tree subject to final approval by the city arborist.
Would the maker of the motion consider perhaps language that was a touch more specific and give flexibility with regards to the existing elm tree and proposed flame tree?
Yes, specific to the street trees, the flame tree and the elm tree.
Okay, I think we have a motion from Commissioner Schindler. I'm going to look to staff to confirm that that motion suffices. Okay,
Yes, that suffices. Thank you.
thank you. Sorry, we have a motion on the table.
I'm happy to second.
We have a second from Vice Chair Silverstein. Do any commissioners wish to make additional comments? Okay, then I will call the vote. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
I just wanted to appreciate that this address is 519 and today's 519, but yes.
I am also a yes. That is 5 yes votes with 2 absent. The motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we will now move to item F2 on the agenda. In this item, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit to operate a private fitness studio, which is considered a personal improvement service and requires use permit approval pursuant to the Menlo Station Planned Development Permit, or PDP, in the SPECRD, or El Camino Real Downtown Specific Plan Zoning District at 700 to 800 El Camino Real, and determine this action is categorically exempt under CEQA Guidelines, Section 15301's Class 1 exemption for existing facilities. Ms. Khan, I believe you are also the project planner on this project. Does staff have any updates to the staff report?
Yes, good evening again. We do not have any updates to the staff report, but we do have the business owners at the city chambers with us, as well as their architect, and they're happy to make verbal remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then at this time, I am happy to invite the applicants to provide any remarks.
Hello, I'm Scott Norton. I'm the founder of Access.
Perfect. Let's be sure we get the microphone.
Oh, perfect. The good thing, this stick right here.
If I may, through the chair, the microphone should be capable, but I think you just might need to be a little closer to
There
it.
we go.
Thank you.
There we go. So this October, that means Access will be 29 years old. And
I'm really sorry.
we are very blessed. Hello?
There you go. Okay, you got it. Keep
We're
going.
very blessed. We've been here 29 years. We can't believe it. And he goes, from the bottom of my heart, our hearts, we wish we could stay where we are, but we're not going to be able to. Thank goodness we've been able to find a new space. And I think what's so fortunate is that we have unbelievable team of trainers who built their lives. Families, they sent their kids to high schools and colleges, and we are just blessed. We could have stopped and said, hey, we're over, we're done with this space, but we love what we do. And we said we have to keep this going, not just for us, but for the community and for our team. And that's why we're here today. And we're very blessed to be in the community. We love Menlo Park. We didn't want to go anywhere else. We didn't want to go to Palo Alto. Didn't want to go to Redwood City. And it's just, we survived in 2001. The bot.com. And then in 2008-9, it was the mortgage crisis. And then we know what happened in 2020. And if we could survive that, we could survive anything. So we just want to be able to share the community. We want to share what we've done for several years. We have several clients that love what we do. We have trainers that are beautiful. So we just want to keep it alive and keep it just successful.
We have trainers that have been with us for 10, 20 years, which is unheard of in any industry. We have clients that have been with us for before Access was even started, and we just want to keep it going, and we're moving from across the street to across the street, and we just want to keep it going.
Exactly. You take it from one spot, and we walked it, so it's 2 minutes walk So the idea is just to take the same space and move it over to another space. And it's just, again, we're gonna help the community. Everyone goes to Phil's, and we go over to St. Frank's, too much. We go to Cafe Barone, you know, Bevmo, sorry about that, a little too much there too. And then it's just, again, again, it's nice we're going across the other side and going to a different space that we don't go to very often. You know, I think it was the Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
Never, we've driven by it a million times. We've never been in. We went inside. It was great.
Amazing.
It was amazing. The frame company. So again, our trainers, they purchased a lot through the community. Our clients purchased throughout the community. And we just want to thank you for just listening and understand our love for what we have done. And again, it's unbelievable that this October, it's going to be 29 years.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Before we move to public comment, I was going to ask if any commissioners have any clarifying questions for staff or the applicant on this item.
I think this is a clarifying
Commissioner Schindler.
question. I think this is a clarifying question. Compared to the current facility, will this be meaningfully bigger or smaller? Okay,
No, about very close to the same size.
thank you. And then, so will the staffing level be roughly the same size?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
I have a clarifying question and a request to staff. I was trying to find in the municipal code what the Menlo Station Planned Development Permit requirements or process was. So my explicit question is, could you point me either to where in the downtown specific plan or in the municipal code it specifically outlines the process that an establishment like this would need to take in order to get the use permit. And then as a general request, it is useful in general with items that come before the Planning Commission to cite where in the municipal code or guidance those requirements live, so that I could do more research without having to dig through all of the individual lines myself.
Thank you for your question, Commissioner Silverstein. That's a very good question. PDP no longer resides in our municipal code. That has been removed. PDPs, back in the day, it did belong in the municipal code, and I believe we just have one PDP in the city, which would be the one for Menlo Station. Sorry that you looked into the municipal code and could not locate it. I wish you had emailed me. I would have been happy to share with you the PDP document that we do have for Menlo Station. So since the property itself has a PDP, it's similar to a CDP. It resides with the project folders that we do have. And in that document, it outlines pretty much the area, the tenant spaces, what is allowed versus what is conditionally allowed in that document. So per the PDP that we have, and I believe we also amended the PDP very recently as we did a purchase of land in order to do the middle crossing. So there has been amendment to the PDP. However, it did not change any of the development standards that were in place or any changes of use or conditional use that are permitted through the PDP. So yes, I'm happy to share with you the document after this meeting if that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, I am not seeing any further clarifying questions. We may have questions later, but for now, I am going to turn to public comment and ask Mr. Pruder if you could please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period. The applicants are welcome to sit down. We will call you back up if we have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Eric. Yes, at this time, item F2 is our current item, and public comment is possible for the item. If any members of the public wish to provide a public comment card, they could do so by filling one out and providing it to me in person in the council chambers. And also any members of the public virtually or by phone trying to provide public comment can by Zoom raise their hand, and by the phone, press *9. I believe we might have a public commenter. If it's okay with the chair, we can wait a moment for that person to prepare their card, and then they can go speak. We have no hands raised at this time.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, at this time we have a person with the name David Ruck would like to speak. I'm going to put up the timer, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you just give me one moment. And okay, you can begin your comment. Thank you.
Hello, sorry to delay by being a little late on the comment card. My name is David Rock. I've actually been a client since the Axis opened at 550 Ravenswood in 1996. I always tell people that, believe it or not, I'm 77 years old. I actually work out twice a week. It is my church. It is where I go. It is how I keep my health. I'm speaking, I think, on behalf of all the other people, all the other clients who go to Axis. It's the most amazing. It literally is like going to Cheers, but instead of a beer, we joke, tease, have fun, work, groan about our trainers, groan about how hard they're working us. But it is something that is just a gift to us as clients. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm also a commercial retail broker. That space has been sitting empty for 1.5 years. There are no 6,000 to 7,000 square foot junior anchor tenants. They don't exist anymore. They're dying buffalo. So to me, the gift is like a double gift. It's a gift for us as clients, and it's as clients of the space, and it's a gift to the town because it's much better to have a vital, vibrant 6,000, whatever it is, 6,800 square foot space than a sign up saying for lease. So I just wanted to make those comments. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, quickly coming back to any other potential commenters. I have no other cards, and there's still no hands raised. If you'd like, we could wait a little longer or close public comment. Thank you.
I think given the time that was allotted prior to the comment, I'm happy to close it now. So we will close public comment and move into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit. Vice Chair Silverstein.
I don't want to restrict any discussion, but I'm very happy to approve the use permit if others are as well. And I so move.
I would second that.
We have a first from Vice Chair Silverstein and a second from Commissioner Baruzzi. I see no other comments, so I'll just quickly note how excited I am for you. I also don't want you to go to Palo Alto, God forbid. So I will call the vote. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler.
Yes, good luck.
Commissioner Sillen.
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes, so that is 5 yes votes. 2 absent, congratulations. We're looking forward to your continued stay in Menlo Park.
May I make a quick final comment?
Please go ahead.
This, I was looking at your site. It doesn't look like a whole bunch of people are necessarily biking to get to where you are now. The bike access to this new location is just notorious in Menlo Park for being kind of terrible. But I know as a fitness studio, there might be a point at which some of your, clients will be coming to you on bikes. And one thing to think about might be places to store bicycles, especially once the, if ever, that undercrossing connecting to Burgess opens up. I just wanted to file that as a thought for you. As somebody who bikes to my fitness studio and is unsatisfied with the quality of bike parking there. Thanks.
Okay. We will now move to the next items on our agenda. I believe we're going to consider items F3 and F4 together. F3 is regarding the development agreement annual review for Meta platforms at One Hacker Way and One Meta Way. Item F4 is the development agreement annual review for Peninsula Innovation Partners LLC at 1350 to 1390 Willow Road, 925 to 1098 Hamilton Avenue, and 1005 to 1275 Hamilton Court. For item F3, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to determine that Meta Platforms Incorporated, or Meta, has demonstrated good faith compliance with the terms of the development agreements for the 2024 annual review period for their East Campus, West Campus, and Meta Campus expansion projects. Review of the development agreements does not qualify for a project under CEQA. For item F4, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to determine Peninsula Innovation Partners LLC has demonstrated good faith compliance with the terms of the development agreement for the 2024 annual review period for the Willow Village Mixed Use Master Plan project. Review of the development agreement does not qualify as a project under CEQA. I believe the planner for this project is Mr. Turner, and we also have presenters from the applicant team present via Zoom. Before we get to them, Mr. Turner, are there any updates to the staff report?
Thank you, Chair Eric. There was going to be some housekeeping, but you opened both items, so that's great. So just a clarification, this is 2 separate actions, one for the East-West and West Campus expansion project, and then one for a separate one for the Willow Village development agreement. So when the time comes, we'll need a motion and second and vote for each individual item. So just to clarify some of the locations we're talking about, the East Campus is the classic, what we refer to sometimes as the classic campus. It was the first Facebook campus, now Meta campus, which was formerly 1601 Willow Road. It's now One Hacker Way. The West Campus has 2 separate development agreements. So one was the original West Campus, and then the campus expansion, which includes buildings 21, 22, the Citizen M Hotel, and then a former building that was part of a former project, but it was incorporated into the DA. There is a map in the staff report, just to clarify which DAs we're talking about. And then, of course, in 2022, the council adopted the land use entitlements for the Willow Village master plan, the 60-acre mixed-use development, essentially at the intersection of Willow and Hamilton. And with that, I have no other updates. We do have some of the members of the applicant team online, and we are all open to questions.
Okay, I will call upon members of the applicant team who I believe are joining us via Zoom to provide verbal remarks.
Commission, thank you, Chair Eric and Commissioners. We have no formal presentation this evening, but are available to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you. Given that that's the case, we can move to public comment. Mr. Pruder, if I could ask you to please give the instructions for public comment and open the comment period.
Thank you again, Chair Eric. At this time, we have public comment for items F3 and F4. And any members in the public who'd like to provide a comment can give a comment card to me, and you'll be able to speak in person here at the council chambers. We can also have your comment virtually if you press the hand icon on your Zoom interface. And if you're on phone this evening, you can press *9. At the moment, I don't see any hands raised, and I've received no comment cards, but we can wait a moment longer before you close public comment if you prefer. Thank you.
Okay, I think we will move and close public comment. I realized that I did not ask commissioners for any clarifying questions. So I will just say, as we move to the dais, commissioners are welcome to ask either clarifying questions or engage in discussion. Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. I first wanted to quickly ask the applicant team that's on Zoom to just introduce yourself and your role, if you don't mind.
Sure, happy to start. My name is Solon. I'm on the Meta team, facilities team, managing our real estate and construction projects here in the Bay Area.
And my name is Eric Morley on the Willow Village team. And with me tonight is Eric Harrison with Signature Development Group on the Willow Village team. And then Juan Salazar is here tonight on behalf of Meta. And thank you, Commission, for hearing us this evening.
Thank you. I had a couple of kind of very specific questions, I think, for staff regarding the, let me see here, West Campus expansion agreement specifically. And so there was stated that there in the staff report in the summary section, it was listed that there were 5 in progress one-time on the one-time list. There were 5 in progress items. I could only find 4 in attachment Q, if I'm not mistaken. I found one about affordable housing, LEED Gold certification, a docent for the wildlife refuge, and a recycled water system. So I would appreciate a clarification if I missed something, what the 5th item was. And then I'll just briefly ask my other 2 questions about that list. So for the LEED Gold certification, I was wondering why that's listed as in progress, since it seemed like construction was completed. And there was a list there of all the different buildings and what LEED certification they had. And then for the recycled water system, my question is, what would happen? It's listed that the applicant is in a discussion with West Bay, and West Bay was requiring some sort of new facility to be built that wasn't feasible. What would happen in terms of this agreement if there's not a solution that's workable with West Bay for this item? So those are my 3 questions. What is the 5th in progress item? Why is LEED Gold certification marked as in progress? And the question about the recycled water for staff. Thank you.
I will start with the LEED because that's the easy one. So we got some late information from Citizen M that the hotel was certified LEED Gold, so that should no longer be in progress. That should be complete, which did not make it onto the tracking sheet, so I apologize for that. As far as the in progress, these are the one-time action in progress? Yes, we should.
If it helps while you're looking, on page, this is page 136 of the agenda PDF, table 3 in the staff report, campus expansion development agreement, under in progress / ongoing, one-time actions, attachment Q, the number is 5, and then in the actual attachment, I can only find 4 items in progress.
That may also have been a typo in the table. There's 4 in attachment. So yeah, that should be 4 ongoing, minus the minus the lead. So it'd actually be 3 ongoing.
Sorry, Commissioner Sullivan, does that answer your question, or are we still waiting for
Oh
an
yeah,
answer?
sorry. There's a yes, that satisfies that. And then yeah, my third part of my question was regarding the recycled water system. It sounds like with West Bay, there's potentially it says discussions are ongoing, but there's an issue where West Bay wanted a new facility built that wasn't part of the original plan, and now the staff report I believe said they're working on a compromise. I'm just wondering what would happen if there was an inability to find some workable solution, or is that, I guess, yeah, that's my question. Would the applicant be in breach of this agreement if it was determined that there was no solution with West Bay that was going to work out?
I may look to the applicant to see what their to answer the question about what their ongoing discussions are. As far as I know, I don't believe it would be a breach of contract if there was no alternative.
Sure, I'm happy to provide an update, Chris. So, we've been working with West Bay Sanitary and the State Water Board to get this first of its kind recycled water system approved. And the West Bay, there's a number of issues, mainly around salinity and effluent discharge that we're working through. So the current discussions with West Bay is they're currently designing and constructing a regional recycled water treatment facility. And so we're in discussions with them about potentially utilizing some of that water so that our system will continue to use recycled water, even if we're unable to recycle it on property. So that's kind of where we're standing right now. West Bay is still working through their design and funding before they start construction on their project.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think my questions have been answered. Generally, besides those little technical things, pending what I hear from other commissioners, I'm satisfied that Meta has been meeting the requirements of these development agreements. It seems like for the Menlo Village Master Plan, most things are just conditional on construction starting. I would love to get more information on that, but as far as the motion tonight, as it stands right now, I'm satisfied. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Sillen. Commissioner Schindler.
Thank you, Chair. Similar to Commissioner Sillen, I just had a couple of quick notes. If there's going to be an opportunity to go in and just refine the documentation for the appendices that look at one-time actions and ongoing activity status. The two documents that represent the East Campus and the two documents that represent the West Campus are just mislabeled, at least according to the labels on them don't align with what's in the list of appendices. In other words, M and N are swapped and P and O are swapped. It's pretty intuitive because they have the correct titles on them, but if you were cross-referencing, that would be a mild point of confusion for me that lasted most people would be short. For me, it was longer. I would like to just ask a follow-up question to the one status item that was still listed as unacceptable or no information with regard to the expansion campus. So this was the item about 661C that referenced sales and use taxes specific to the hotel. So it rang a bell to me when I read this update, and I went back and I checked last year's report. And this was the same item, the same single item that was listed as unacceptable and no info. And to my eyes, the explanation looked roughly the same. So my question is, it's been a year. What is the status of coming up with an alternative, and for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it a financial make good, essentially poor inaccurate subcontractor bookkeeping appears to have resulted in a financial shortfall for the city as it relates to sales taxes. So it feels like there's an opportunity to come up with an approximate dollar amount and a make good or something. And it's been 12 months. So I was hoping to get a status update. And I'm not sure if that's an appropriate question through the chair to staff or to the applicant.
I think I can take this one. Last year, it was, my recollection was that it was unclear. We didn't know if they had, if those sub-permits have been submitted. Mostly Citizen M managed that construction project, and there wasn't as much involvement from Meta side as far as like making sure those sub-permits were applied for and issued. But at the time, we just didn't know if it had been done because we hadn't gotten that information from Citizen M. As far as the update this year, we have confirmation now that, in fact, those sub-permits were not applied for. So that was also new information. And we as staff are still in the process of figuring out, what exactly is the remedy, if there's like some monetary penalty, or if there's a way to go back and figure out those bookings. That's what we're figuring out now. So then we can report that out if there was any remedy in next year's annual review.
Thank you. That's helpful additional color just in terms of working through the backward-looking timeline. And if I'm understanding your comment correctly, that then when we get to this review a year from now for the 2025 period, we'd probably expect to have some kind of a make good or a remedy identified and potentially even executed. Is that reasonable?
Yes, that'd be the intent. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few comments. Since we're on the topic, I'm just going to follow up on Commissioner Schindler's comment and I guess note maybe a little bit more strongly. I don't know if anyone is making this argument, but it was in the report, it was phrased as though because Citizen M was managing the hotel that Meta didn't really know what was going on. And I realize that projects are complicated. I will just say that as a city, I do not think we should accept that argument. Meta entered into this development agreement and they presumably chose Citizen M, or at least are responsible for the activities therein. So I think the city should pursue some sort of financial remedy, even if it was not Meta managing that particular project. That's all I'll say about that. I will say in general, since my time on the Planning Commission, any meeting that we've had about Willow Village or the Meta campus, I am consistently impressed by the quality of the work that is done. So I'd like to express appreciation for both the Meta team as well as staff for keeping track of what is truly an enormous number of provisions in the development agreement. And I think everyone is, in general, maybe one example excluded, doing a great job. And those are providing meaningful benefits to the city that I think we should all be thankful for. I will note that I am always heartened, I was heartened again to read that the number of trips to the Meta campuses is significantly below the trip cap that was put in place. And I think we as a city should take that as evidence that transportation strategies, and particularly alternative transportation strategies, can be successful in achieving our goals. I do have one question on the theme of transportation, and it is related to attachment T, and in particular, items 5.3C and 5.3D pertaining to Dumbarton Rail and Dumbarton Forward. I think my question will be addressed to the applicant team. Under these items, there's notes that there was no reportable action for either one of these items to provide stakeholder support for either transit projects or other projects along the Dumbarton corridor. And I am hoping someone from the Meta team or the Peninsula Innovation Partners team can provide some background on why there was no action last year on these items.
Yes, Commissioner or Chair Eric, well, I'm happy to address that. There has been no action or movement by those agencies. So we continue to monitor, but and coordinate. But as those agencies at the state and federal level engage, we continue to advocate for both policy and financial resources. But at this point, there was no action in this year by those agencies. So we continue to be a supporter and engage, but that's the current status.
Thank you very much. A follow-up question on that. Do you have any indication that there will be more action on this in 2025?
It really depends on, at the federal level, the current administration and state level. So we'll continue to monitor, but we have no current update at this time.
Thank you very much. When I first joined the commission, former Commissioner Henry Riggs, whenever we reviewed one of these projects, used to passionately note his disappointment that neither one of these projects, which seemed to hold so much promise when at that time Facebook was thinking about moving here, had ever moved forward. And he did a much better job than I could ever do at describing the potential negative impacts that that would have. So I guess I will take up his mantle and express my disappointment and hope that Meta not only would think about following the federal and state government, but in fact, leading that charge. I think at one time that was under greater consideration and seemed to have fallen by the wayside. So I will add my potentially small voice to that effort or that cause. That concludes my comments. In general, as I said, I'm very happy to support both of these items and appreciate the work by everyone on everything that is involved. Commissioner Sillen.
Thank you. Regarding the Dumbarton project, I share your desire to, Chair Eric, I share your desire to see something happen there. You did remind me of a New York Times article that was titled Facebook's Bridge to Nowhere that kind of delved into some of these issues that led to the project being, at least for now, put aside, and it made me realize how difficult of a project it was. So yeah, I guess I can see both sides of it, but I would love to see that happen. Since other commissioners haven't asked, I figure I would ask if someone from the Meta team could give us an update about Willow Village. We're always curious to know why developers or businesses are or are not moving forward with development projects in the city. And so if you don't mind, could someone from the Meta team give a brief update as to the status of the Menlo Village development, and if there's any sort of like date on the horizon in terms of starting construction or moving forward with the planning effort?
You bet. Thank you very much for the question and update request. Eric Harrison on our team can talk to the current status of the permitting process with the city and also outside agencies. We are in the process of and have been since the master approval in 2022, subsequent approval of multiple architectural approvals in 2023, and then through last year working through outside agency approvals, but also city approvals on kind of mapping and improvement drawings. But I'll defer to Eric Harrison to update you on the current status. As we shared early on, this is a very large scale, complex project, and we continue to progress and work through all of the both city and outside agency approvals in order to implement the project. But I'll defer to Eric Harrison on our team to update you on that.
Great. Thank you, Eric Morley. Good evening, Chair Eric and members of the Commission. We've been primarily focused on 4 key elements to advance the project, which we need to accomplish. A majority of our time has been working on the on-site infrastructure improvements. We've, over the last 2 years, have made 3 submittals and have gone through the city and its third-party plan reviewer, their comments, and have made revisions, and we're readying the improvement plan set for the 4th submittal, which should be prepared and back to the city in June. We've also engaged with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Some of you may be aware that along our southern boundary, there's a Menlo Park drainage channel, and we needed to verify that that channel is not subject to their jurisdiction, because our project proposes to fill that channel, which will ultimately become part of the dog park, and pipe that water in an actual storm drain pipe. And we recently, I think it was a little over 2 months ago, received confirmation from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that it is not jurisdictional. And now we're ready to start outreach with the San Francisco Regional Water Quality Control Board to confirm that it is not within their jurisdiction. So we've been busy with those resource agencies. Additionally, we've been working with PG&E. As you know, a project of this magnitude, Willow Village, there isn't adequate energy within PG&E's current facilities. And PG&E is we're going to build a new distribution substation at the Ravenswood substation so that we can get roughly 37 megawatts of power. And we've been working hand in hand with PG&E as they're designing that new circuit and bringing new feeders into Willow Village. And that's about a 4-year process, and we're 2 years into that process. And then lastly, which has already come up, is West Bay. We've been working with West Bay on providing funding for project management and other essential primary work efforts in order to advance their Bayfront recycled water plant that ultimately will bring recycled water for use within Willow Village. So that encapsulates, also we've been working with Caltrans in order to do the necessary improvements on Willow Road. We're proposing to realign Willow Road and Hamilton Avenue so that that becomes a true right-angled intersection, so it functions much better than it does today. And we have a proposed intersection anew at Park Street in Willow Village. And we've received recently from Caltrans the traffic and the TOR, which is the traffic analysis operational report for Willow Road, and we received an approval on the initial submittal, which is exceedingly rare. We've been very busy. We still have lots of work still to do before we can start construction, but that's it encapsulates our primary efforts so far.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Because is that I'm curious.
Sure, just one second. Do you have any additional questions?
Oh, sure. I did have one, but is the Meta team finished with their side?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'll just have one quick follow-up and then I'll yield to Commissioner Abruzzi. Thank you. So thank you for that response. I respect you for doing that work. Sounds like a lot of navigating different agencies and complicated things. I guess just big picture, I was sort of under the impression that Willow Village was, I don't remember if this is in the staff report or where I got this impression, but I guess is Meta proceeding with Willow Village moving as quickly as possible to try to get this built, or is this moving at a slower pace due to any sort of economic or real estate environmental issues, and there's like a plan that to either wait when certain permits are received to start construction or to slow down development, or is this just going full steam ahead as planned? It's just a matter of navigating all these different complicated things and getting them done.
Yeah, again, through the chair, Eric Morley, good question. Yeah, we continue to proceed as we shared during the original approval process with the City Council and Planning Commission. This is a long-term, complex process. And so we are continuing to move through. In 2022, we received approvals for the overall development. We spent all of 2023 getting all of the architectural approvals for virtually every building in the development. We spent 2024 working through all of the both city and outside agency approvals, and we continue to do that. So yeah, we continue to proceed as planned, and as we share with the council in our early approvals with the entitlements and also the implementation approvals with all the outside agencies. So yes, we're continuing with that as planned and as outlined when we were originally before the council.
Thank you. Do you have any sort of ballpark pie in the sky start date on construction at this time?
Yeah, good question. So I would defer to Eric Harrison just in terms of the remaining city, both on-site improvement approvals, the Caltrans approvals, also SFPUC approvals, but I would defer to Eric Harrison in terms of when we would be in a position to kind of demo and break ground.
As I had mentioned, we've been working with various agencies. We do not have permits yet from Caltrans. That's a critical path item because the realignment of Hamilton and Willow Road are critical elements of our on-site infrastructure. The same with, we have a proposed new intersection on O'Brien, which we still need to circle back with SFPUC to get their approval of either a license or easement agreement. So it's difficult at this time to be able to say specifically when we're able to start until we have all of the permits that are necessary to be able to have a clear path to go forward without having the issue of potentially one agency holding up the ability to complete the improvements as anticipated. So we need that full bundle of rights in our hand before we can start. And some of the agencies are just taking substantially longer than we had originally contemplated to receive the ultimate sign off and approvals.
Thank you, Eric.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
I think Commissioner Stillin asked all of the questions I was going to ask. I think I do have a fair amount of anxiety about the Willow Villages as a significant component of both the housing element update that we recently voted on and also the elements of Willow Village that we're going to support the expansion of housing that we've seen over the last decade. Back when I think 2016 happened and Connect Menlo was authorized, the vision was that there would be a full suite of not just homes and businesses, but also services like grocery stores and places for people to shop and live, work, play. And so a lot of that has been embedded in the Willow Village project, the grocery store being a really key element. And so I continue to hope that this will move forward apace. And what I was going to ask, which kind of has been answered and kind of not, is this project delayed relative to where we thought it would be when it was authorized in 2022? Are you significantly further behind than you thought you might be in 2025? I feel like it's been implied that it's sort of rolling along, but I would just wonder if that's a reasonable question.
Just to clarify, that's a question for the applicant? Or
Yes, sorry,
staff?
for the applicant, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would defer to Eric on the overall scale. By the way, we have Chair Eric, we have Eric Harrison, and we have Eric Morley. So thank you for all the Erics, appreciate it. I would defer to Eric Harrison just kind of on the schedule, but yeah, we are continue to track to the overall schedule that we had outlined to the council around the original approval. We certainly understand and get and respect the urgency, and we're doing our part in terms of advancing, the various approvals, both internally and with the city of Menlo Park and outside agencies. I think what Eric will probably share is that some of those agency approvals or outside organizations have taken a little bit longer, but on a broad scale, we're tracking to that. But Eric would defer to you on overall schedule.
I don't have much more to add, Eric. That's very accurate. I would say that some agencies like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, because of a SACIT decision that was made by the Supreme Court in early 2024, put everything on hold for about 12 months until we received the determination. But we had anticipated it would be a long process. And on complex projects like this, as Eric had mentioned, getting through the alphabet soup of resource and regulating agencies, it always takes longer than what most individuals would contemplate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baruzzi. Do any other commissioners have comments or wish to make a motion? And I will just remind us that I believe we need 2 separate motions, one for item F3 and one for item F4. Commissioner Sillen.
I just have one more quick question for staff, which is, since I think I joined the commission after all these things happened, so I'm just wondering, since the master plan is in place, it seems like there's a development agreement in place, and there have been architectural approvals done already. Are there any other items besides further reviews of the development agreement expected to come before the commission for this project? Or at this point, is the applicant sort of already in the building phase? They're just working through all these third-party agency issues?
Trying to think through everything we've done so far. So there were a number of approvals, architectural control packages for like the office, most of the residential. There are a couple of parcels that have not been designed yet, that are part of a later phase. So those would eventually come back as subsequent architectural control packages. We are working through, I think Eric did a good job of saying everything we're working through. There's a lot that Planning Commission won't see, like the on-site improvement plans, a lot of the Willow Road improvements. There are a couple of subdivision maps that we're also working through that we didn't mention. But those I don't believe would come back to Planning Commission. There's a final subdivision map that needs to go back to City Council for final approval, but wouldn't come back to Planning Commission. So I think there's, off the top of my head, not very many items that would come back to Planning Commission other than the annual reviews and then those last few architectural control packages. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you. I echo Commissioner Baruzzi's comments regarding wanting to see this project come to fruition and seeing a lot of things in the development agreement that seem important to our city. And in addition to that, the housing that's important for our housing element and just general for our community. So yeah, really hoping that things can continue to move forward, and appreciate all the work being done by Meta and staff to get all these approvals in place. Regarding the motion, I'm happy to make a motion. I guess I'm wondering, can I make 2 motions at the same time, or do we go one at a time?
I believe as per staff guidance, we're going to go one at a time.
Okay, then I will first make a motion to approve the first set of development agreements, which I believe would be East, West, and West Campus expansion agreements to be in compliance, if that is the correct language.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Sillen. Second from Commissioner Baruzzi. Seeing no other comments, I'm happy to call the vote. Commissioner Baruzzi.
Aye.
Commissioner Schindler.
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen.
Aye.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also a yes. That is 5 yes votes with 2 absent. That motion passes. Commissioner Schindler.
I'm happy to make an additional motion with regard to the Willow Village development agreement, and that saying that, let's see, Meta has demonstrated a good faith compliance with the terms of that development agreement for 2024 annual review period.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Sillen. Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yeah, really quickly, the proposed potential resolution in the agenda had it coming from Peninsula Innovation Partners as opposed to Meta, which was not stated as per the resolution.
Thank you. May I modify my
Please go ahead.
motion here to reflect that it would be Peninsula Innovation Partners has demonstrated good faith compliance with the terms of the development agreement.
I will second the amended motion.
Thank you, and thank you to Vice Chair Silverstein. Okay, seeing no other comments, I'm going to head and call the vote for this motion. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Schindler,
Yes.
Commissioner Sillen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Silverstein.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. That is 5 yes votes with 2 absent. That motion passes. Thank you very much to Meta and to Peninsula Innovation Partners. That concludes the public hearing portion of our agenda. So we will now move to item G, informational items, and in particular, the future Planning Commission meeting schedule. Ms. Sandmeyer, is there anything staff would like to share about upcoming Planning Commission meetings?
Yes, I have some updates for the June 9th meeting. So that's in 3 weeks. So the notice hasn't been sent out and the agenda is not finalized. But we are looking at a couple of items. One is a single-family home. One is a use permit for massage use at 1261 El Camino Real. And then the third one is St. Raymond's Church on Arbor and Santa Cruz Avenue. And that would be for modifications to fencing, parking, and circulation. And that concludes my updates, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do any commissioners have any questions about those informational items? Okay, seeing none, do any commissioners have any informational items of their own? Okay, then I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 9:13 p.m. Thank you, everyone.